Back to the fourth and fantasy. I'm Honcho, and this is my guy Rocco. Tonight we're playing this or that, looking at players' keep, trade, cut values, and deciding who we would rather have on our fantasy teams. We also take a look at our dubs and L's from week 11, looking at guys that absolutely blew up and guys that kind of fell short for us this week. Let's get down to the boogie. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't follow no script. I make my own lane, got a spreadsheet mind and a red brass brain. Dynasty beats got that tape in my veins while they drafting by names. I'm exposing their game, no cap. We study the craft like film room rats. Gyms in the fourth while they stuck in the past. It's levels to the dynasty, keep or flex. From rookies to pros, we demand and respect. That's real. And I ain't never need clout for my clout to show. Just a mic I take and a team I grow. This ain't just picks, it's principle G. It's fourth in fantasy where you build your legacy. We 10 toes down.
We 10 toes down and we stand on facts. Hope you're doing absolutely great wherever you are, how you're viewing us. We are Fourth in Fantasy. Welcome back. As I stated in the intro, I'm Honcho, and this is my guy.
Siriaco, call me Rocco.
And we are your fantasy playbook to more championship wins. And Rocco, where are we the land of?
We are a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos by Dynasty Sickos.
Dynasty sickos. We all are welcome, man. And we're looking for more sickos out there. I should be careful what I say, right, Rocco? We might attract some of the wrong sickos out there. Next you know, we got a couple weirdos in the Discord.
Yeah, get your weird ass in the Discord.
Get y'all weird asses in the Discord. And remember, like, share, subscribe, and we have a free Discord that you're able to join our community that you can find in the YouTube description. We're going very strong at this point, and shout out to everybody who has joined the Discord, joined the community, tapped in with Fourth and Fantasy. We always appreciate it. But we just wrapped up week 11, and god damn it, was it so much fun, and also some heartache in there. There was a couple of teams, actually one of my fantasy leagues, I lost by 2 measly points because I forgot that I did not replace JJ McCarthy with Dak Prescott, who went absolutely crazy bonkers. Lost by 2 points. 2 points. George Pickens brought me back in that game. I was feeling good. And then the Cowboys offense kind of slowed down towards the end. Stopped giving Javonte Williams the ball. Kind of pissed me off, and I lost by 2. Exactly 2 points. But that's how the cookie crumbles in this fantasy football streets. Ain't that right, Marco?
Yeah, man. You had the nice stack, and you had the whole setup you needed, and you blew it.
I blew it, man.
With
but
JJ McCarthy, one of my favorite players, but he is not looking good right now. So if you got other options, you might want to start them instead of him.
But if you know who didn't blow it, if you can't tell right now, our good boy Rocco has on another one jersey from league champ, and this time it is a Jason Taylor, Mr. almost could say potential MVP of 2025 black jersey. Nice and one.
He's also known in the streets as Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor going crazy. What did I say? Did I say something wrong? Did I say his name wrong?
You said Jason Taylor. That's Mason Taylor's daddy.
See, I didn't even notice. Jonathan Taylor, excuse me. He got a nice Jonathan Taylor jersey. Shout out to our boy Rocco for once again 4-time winner of a weekly ranker on League Champ, where you can win a free NFL jersey every week by being the top ranker. Rocco, how does it feel to be a 4-time winner, man?
This is actually my third jersey. Our good friend Addy had to do something a little different to get this jersey because they didn't have this jersey at the NFL shop. So I don't know if he got it from Shein or one of those Amazon. I think it was, but it's a good looking jersey. I'm happy to have it, and I'm still trying to figure out who I want for my fourth jersey. When this journey started, when we started doing League Champ, there is no way that I would have ever thought that I would have 4 jerseys in the span of 7-8 weeks. So I haven't even thought that far ahead. So far, I got Alvin Kamara. Y'all have seen the Puka, and this is the JT. And I think I'm one big win by Tyler Shuck. against the Dirty Birds in the Superdome this Sunday from getting a Shuck jersey. If not, I think I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson, one of my favorite players of all time.
And before we get into tonight's main topic, this or that, and I know it's been a little bit of time since we played this game, it's one of the, I would say, core or early games that we started when we first started doing Fourth and Fantasy. And I'm glad that we get to do it today and look at how the values from the start of the year to now have changed, because honestly, they very much have. But let's look at week 11 and certain performances and talk about if these guys or players can continue this type of performances for the rest of the schedule and for their redraft and dynasty outlook, as well as we also did get a few injuries. But looking at the quarterbacks, just really quick, looking at our top QB1 of the week was Josh Allen, who went for 44.7 fantasy points this week. Absolutely killed it. Even though he had 2 interceptions, he came in, or he brought 3 passing touchdowns and had 3. And let me repeat to you again, 3 rushing touchdowns. Boy, god damn, was he whooping? I can't say he was whooping ass, but because he also threw 2 touchdowns. But you'll take that. You'll take those 2 tutties when you get 6 total touchdowns in one game. And when we look back at the whole landscape of it, remember we were talking about Keon Coleman potentially being a healthy scratch, which he was, due to him missing a meeting. Keon, baby, what are we doing? What are we doing? You think you're not Randy Moss? You're not Calvin Johnson? Shit, you're barely goddamn Amika Ibuka. You're not even Amika Ibuka. Let's do. You're both of our first round wide receivers, but nevertheless, we needed to get it together so you can be a prominent member of the Buffalo Bills. As we have wide receivers like Shavers coming in and having 20 goddamn fantasy point type games. That shit is crazy to me. Keon, this is a rant just for you. Get it together, or my fantasy teams. I sent out a few seconds this off season for you. Don't piss me off this year. I remember I made the fatal mistake of, I believe it was later last year or 2 years ago. It probably was 2 years ago. Now I'm thinking about it, where I thought Jahan Dotson was going to be a thing. I thought that he was going to be a ascending player after his rookie year. And wrong. Boy was buttermilk buns and sent out a second rounder across multiple leagues. Yeah. Boy, shit the bed on the goddamn thing. Not even doing
as bad as Jordan Whittington or what?
Actually, Jordan Whittington still might be. If it wasn't for Devontae Adams signing to the Rams, I think he would have a bigger role. But yeah, that was another one that kind of. I'll say I got him more for thirds than I got him than I sent.
I think you got it for 1 second. I almost fell on the floor when I seen that one.
Absolutely.
What's funny about Josh Allen's performance is we were just, well, mostly me. I was just talking about how Josh Allen hasn't been the same this year. I can't remember the context, but we're talking about Josh Allen hasn't been the same.
Mm-hmm.
That offense hasn't been the same. And, he's not even a top 5 in my MVP rankings. And I think that's probably still the case for me. But man, he played fucking awesome.
Yeah, and looking at some other quarterback performances, Bryce Young, come down to the lane, player. Skip through that lane, because you was absolutely doing your thing against the Atlanta Falcons. Ended up getting the dub too. Through over 400 passing yards, looking like prime Alabama Bryce Young, if you ask me. But he threw for 448 passing yards, 3 tutties, and no interceptions. Now, I will say this wasn't Atlanta Falcons, who doesn't have the best defense. I will say.
Well, they had the best passing defense coming into this game, so I don't know what happened. I think they've imploded, with Michael Penix and Drake London out for multiple weeks, looking like going forward.
Speaking of Michael Penix, can we just pour out the 40 for our boy Michael Penix real quick? who just had it was just announced today he's going to miss the rest of the year with a partially torn ACL, and that is his third in his career, his third ACL injury.
My
Yeah,
boy gonna be 30 by the time he gets back on the fucking
it's
field.
not looking, man. And then you throw in the wrench of Drake London also having a PCL injury and looking to look like he's going to miss at least this week and be week by week going forward. Bro, if 2025 doesn't make you crash out by the end, I don't know what will, because at this point we've had major injury after major injury after major injury, and it's like you have to pivot every single week. You might, if you're shoot, there's a couple of my leagues. My IR spots been filled. There's some of my leagues where we only have two IR spots. So you was already out by a damn near week 4 player. Shit crazy this year. I don't. It's making me upset. I feel like as this year, as a fantasy owner and fantasy player, you've needed to one be a waiver warrior. No, if it depending on if you're in redraft or dynasty. Dynasty is a little easier to trade because you have trade picks to move guys and use picks plus players to move guys, so that's easy. Redraft is a little harder to trade because it's more player for player rather than pick and player. So you're trying to see what values actually match up and what both of players or both fantasy owners agree to. So looking at Bryce Young, I like him going. I like the flashes Bryce Young has shown, and once we get into this and that, we'll play a few scenarios and see what direction you go, Rocco. But he had a top 5 QB performance in Week 11. Will he have another one? Let's find out. I think what was a beautiful spot between him and the Carolina Panthers offense was they featured Tetaroya McMillan. He got serious targets. He saw max usage in the slot, which very much was to his advantage. I liked what we saw with them getting McMillan involved. Hopefully they can keep that going. So for fantasy purposes and for wherever I have Ted McMillan as well, Tetaroya McMillan, shout out to him. But looking at some other guys that are finishing out the top 5, Jacoby Brissett, and our recently, and should I say this out loud, our recently just benched Justin Fields, who was QB5 of the week, just got benched for Tyrod Taylor. A couple people's teams are
Yeah.
looking different. Let's talk
I
about that.
told you, I told you this was gonna happen. Nobody, y'all looked at me crazy with my cold take. You and Chef were on this here podcast, and I told you guys Tyrod Taylor gonna start games by the end of the season. And look now. I mean, they've been threatening this for weeks. The team's not winning games. The owner came out and said we could win games if I goddamn quarterback can complete one pass. He had one of the worst performances in the history of football. I think it was in the London game where he maybe completed like 3 or 4 passes. So Tyrod Taylor, he's nothing. He's not a glorious type of guy, but he's a vet guy that can kind of run the offense. And he's going to be the bridge probably for the rest of the season. This could be curtains for Justin Fields at this point. He's gotten chances in multiple places, and he's been replaced in multiple places. So it may take him a while to get back to the QB1 role. Somebody mentioned, I can't remember where I saw it, but this would be intriguing if he bought in. It would take a lot of buy-in from him, because it would take a lot of humble soup for him to kind of go from the QB1 to this role. But if he bought in, he could be like an even more athletic version of like a Taysom Hill. If he went to the right team that would utilize him in that fashion and had a vision for him in that fashion, because I would hate to see, that all world athleticism, some of the most fun plays we've ever seen, just taking on the whole offense and streaking down the field for long touchdowns. kind of reminds me of some of those long runs from Taysom Hill. So maybe if he hits the streets, maybe that's somebody the Saints would want to look at. The Saints have, in the past utilized the role for a guy like that. Some people think Jalen Milroe could be a guy like that once he gets his feet wet a little bit and starts to be active on game day. But yeah, I think they just want somebody that can competently run the offense on a consistent basis. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor's that. I mean, he's got to be at 37, 38, but I think they just feel more comfortable with him running the offense and completing some passes and at least showing some semblance of offense, besides just taking off and running with the football.
I still have faith in Justin Fields, and hopefully he could still have or find some type of starting, has one more chance to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And
Oh, everybody
honestly,
gets another chance, definitely.
yeah, for sure. I still think he has talent. When you're looking at his time with the Chicago Bears, that organization in general was just bad from top to bottom. So it was very hard. It's honestly, it would have been very hard for him to turn the ship around himself and how that team was built up before Ben Johnson got there. And then we looked at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think honestly, his benching was more political with the team than him actually losing the job, because he went, I believe, undefeated or only lost one game as a starter when he was the quarterback. And then they tossed him for Russell Wilson, who did not do anything for the rest of the year and had George Pickens damn near fighting for his life trying to get some production. And then we see what George Pickens does with a capable quarterback in his corner, as he is top five, I believe number two right now in receiving yards in the NFL. Who would have thought George Pickens? Actually, I did. Who would have thought me? Because I said at the beginning of the I said at the beginning of the season, George Pickens could have potentially a top 10 type year. Love
I
it.
got an intriguing question for you.
What's up?
Is he now the WR1 for the Dallas Cowboys?
No, I would say, but I believe what helps him out or helps him have the production he does is that CD gets so much attention. When I say teams literally double him so they doesn't get beat in the slot or just whenever he's on the field, they try to take him out to where George Pickens does see a fair good amount of one-on-ones, and you put in George Pickens on a one-on-one is damn near barbecue chicken. So last night or on Monday night, he had that cornerback, like we like to say, shaking ass. Okay. And honestly, if we're looking at, we'll get into that when we get into this or that, and we're looking at the receivers. But CD
Hey,
Lamb, I
what
still,
what what were they on? They said they were getting all fucked up in Vegas. That's why they
yeah,
got
they
benched in the
were,
first drive. They
yeah,
said they was
they're
fucking
disciplinary.
puking in the Venetian or wherever the fuck they were at.
Yeah, disciplinary actions. Like, hey, man, when you have your two top running or your two top wide receivers, and I like that. I like that from Schottenheimer that they weren't too big to be benched for a series.
But would they bench them if they were playing the Eagles?
I still think. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, maybe not. But nevertheless, I feel like you needed to make a statement as the head coach. Like, hey, yes, you guys are my top players, but we can't be having this. They didn't get back to their hotel. They broke curfew, and didn't get back to the hotel to 7:30 in the goddamn morning. That is wild. But what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby. But to answer your question, long short, I still think CeeDee Lamb is the wide receiver one, and he would have had actually 2 touchdowns in that game if Dak Prescott didn't miss them towards the end. But right now, he is still seeing majority of the double teams, so George Pickens is benefiting from that. But yeah, he's still CeeDee Lamb is still wide receiver one, and also I still believe he's still coming back, working himself back from the high ankle sprain. So honestly, at that point, still root for CD. I still think he's top three, but it also shows how immensely talented George Pickens is and has been. And we all seeing that now that he has a bona fide quarterback throwing him the ball. And to go in a wind answer, I hope he stays in Dallas and I hope he notices sometimes it's much better to have a capable quarterback being able to get you the ball rather than chasing the bag and trying to be the number one or highest paid wide receiver in the game. I think the Cowboys and them and George Pickens find a very good safe in the middle where they can agree on. So him and CeeDee Lamb can be a good pair for the foreseeable future. But
So it's gonna be like a 1A 1B type of thing.
I hope, man. It's a
Is
beautiful thing. I
this
can't tell you the last pair we had. Amari Cooper and CD Lamb was the last real, I would say, 1A, 1B that we've
but
had. CD was
does
a
this
baby at that point.
does this cut into CD's foundational upside? Does he not? Is he not foundational if he can't see those 100, 60, 70 targets a year?
Not necessarily. I still think, honestly, if CD Lamb didn't miss any games, he'll still be right there in that, I say, near that top 10-ish, top 8-ish in receiving yards. But now, obviously, you're trying to still work yourself back. You're still trying to, one, mingle in what they're running now. George Pickens, they still trying to keep Williams getting the ball. Jake Ferguson still getting the ball. So I still think CD Lamb can give you top five production. Honestly, I don't see why the reason why George Pickens and CD Lamb both can't give you top 10 production. Now, is CD Lamb the bona fide still as a talent wise? He's still top three to me. He's still in that realm. But when you're
Right.
looking at targets, it gets a little skim.
It makes me nervous that he's kind of losing that wide receiver one overall upside that I thought he could have coming into the season. I guess that's kind of what the point I was getting at too. Like with George Pickens there, does it cap his upside and move him down a small tier, not like he's not moving into like WR2 territory, but instead of that super elite wide receiver 1, 2, maybe 5, he's more in that 8 to 10 realm.
We've seen Jamar Chase put up some duds too, and in fantasy this year as well. Even though he hasn't had Joe Burrow or his number one, his starting quarterback, so that also is an important note to have. But with CD, I still think he deserves to be in the same realm as Justin. Shoot, Justin Jefferson is another one that's having QB troubles, and
Yeah, yeah.
it it puts you in a very weird conversation. I remember us having a discussion on our last episode on our Sunday or on our Sunday show where we were talking about someone had asked, "Do I start AJ Brown or Kamani Vidal?" And we were like, "We have really, we really haven't gotten to this part of the year or this
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the Eagles where you're having to choose between Kamani Vidal and AJ Brown." So it doesn't take, or I don't. I so to answer that, I don't think it takes CD Lamb out, just like it doesn't take Justin Jefferson out of the top five, even though they're having trouble. I just think as a fantasy owner, you have to note that and then take the risk on selecting those players. I think honestly, CD Lamb has a less of a risk than Justin Jefferson right now because at least CD Lamb has a quarterback. We are very much on the fence with JJ McCarthy right now because that last game, and once again, JJ McCarthy, you cost me a fucking fantasy game, bro. 2
You
points.
cost yourself.
I
You
did.
cost yourself by putting J. But
But
you need
you
to
couldn't tell me,
downsize a little
couldn't tell
bit.
me looking
I think you had too
outside
many
in, bro.
leagues.
Outside in, you can tell me that when you were looking at JJ McCarthy on paper against the Chicago Bears, that looked like a good matchup to have him starting in, and it just didn't go that way.
It does, but not compared to Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott should be a every week starter unless you just got, I don't know, just like if you got like Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert who had a dud. Maybe that's a decision point, but you gotta play Dak every week. He just has that upside where he can get you 4 touchdowns any given week.
And to be fair, my phone around that time, around game time, did die, or I was dealing with like 3-4% battery, so I didn't really have time to fully check my lineups, my shit going in and out. I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna have to roll with what I got to roll with.
It's our problem that we sickos, that we got so many leagues that it's hard to catch all of them before game time.
I'm telling
I
you,
think I got to get down. Like I'm in 31, and that shit's hard in season. Like in the off season, it's not that bad, but in season it becomes a lot. So I might get down to like 20ish maybe next year, maybe 25. So I think I'm gonna downsize a little bit, and we got just the way for you guys and gals to do it. So be on the lookout for something coming out very soon.
agreed. But that is enough talk on week 11 and the performances that we saw. Even though we really only talked about the quarterbacks, we can get more into the week 11 performances as we go through this or that and what the said player has done so far in the season and what they're looking like for the rest of schedule. But that being said, let's open keep trade cut and get this thing flowing and growing. All right, can you see my screen? I think we
I could
can.
see it. I could see it.
All right. So, Rocco, let's start with some quarterbacks real quick. And right now, we still have Josh Allen as the QB1 on Keep Trade Cut. But a player that has jumped in the last 30 days, 10 spots, is Drake May as he is QB2 and Keep Trade Cut. Talk about that a little bit, and also talk about the year two jump that we've seen from Drake May. I believe the Patriots are right now 7-3. Right. It could be wrong, but I know they have a very high record and they've been balling. Mike Vrabel has them boys playing some sound offense, defense, and winning games. How do you feel about Drake May being QB2 right now and keep trade cut?
I love Drake May. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, he's getting you close to 250 yards every week. He's scoring touchdowns every week. He had a streak of 5 games with 2 or more touchdowns, with 2 3 touchdown performances mixed in the last 5 weeks before last week, which was it was Hendo week, so he couldn't get those 2 or 3 touchdowns last week because Hendo went absolutely bananas.
Mhm.
So it's hard. There's a lot to love about Drake May. He reminds me of like a Justin Herbert that actually wins games. Um, I mean, he's a good athlete. He can move. He can run. I think before long he is going to be that number one guy overall. The thing that separates Josh Allen is like these games like he had on Sunday where he had 6 touchdowns, like you said, 3 on the ground and 3 in the air. He
Mhm.
just has those upsides to just break fantasy, and basically every place I played Josh Allen, he dropped a 50 burger on me, and those are basically L's. By the time the game ended with Josh Allen, so I think that's what pushes him to the top spot. But as you can see, he's almost 30 now. So how much longer can he play in that manner, that reckless manner that he plays? And he's had some duds so far this year. So I couldn't fault anybody for taking Drake May ahead of Josh Allen at this point. Lamar Jackson, he slipped a little bit because he's missed games this year, and it reminded folks of the games he missed to end the season. I want to say in 22 and 21, where he was not playing at the end of season. So that's what drops him down. Jaden Daniels, he's currently out. Patrick Mahomes is the interesting one there. Patrick Mahomes, you can make an argument that he could be right there in that Drake May and Josh Allen zone with the season he's having.
I agree with you on the Patrick Mahomes part because we've said before on the pod that and when in terms of real football, Patrick Mahomes is a top five quarterback. He's not always a top five quarterback in fantasy.
Hmm.
So this year, he's definitely turning. I wouldn't say turn the page towards that, but he's gotten back to that tier of a player. Whether that's been with Rasheed, and that's been with Rasheed Rice gone for majority of the season. He's only
Mm-hmm.
been back for about 2, 3 games at this point. So Patrick Mahomes has been playing great ball, even though the Chiefs has struggled quite a bit and they aren't hitting on all cylinders that we normally know them to be. But looking at Drake May and some of these names that he's in front of, and if you would have asked me at the beginning of the year, if and honestly, if you look back towards even this past season where people were head over heels on Jaden Daniels as he was going crazy, now that he's below Drake May, would you this or that? And let's go. Obviously, I feel like in redraft, and let's take injuries out of it, right? If Jaden Daniels was healthy, Drake May's healthy, and with the performances we've seen this far this year, redraft this or that Drake May or Jaden Daniels, and then we can talk about dynasty here in a bit.
Well, it's hard to say because, um, like you laughed at me on Sunday for saying you can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle, but you can't unsee the injuries that Jaden Daniels has had this year because you can just look at the body type difference between him and Drake May, and you start to understand why Jaden Daniels could have those type of injuries. He's real thin. He's wiry. He's built
Mhm.
like Lamar Jackson, and I don't feel like Lamar Jackson is so much injury prone, but he has had injuries, and he's another guy that's kind of slight in frame. So. Um, I think I still go Drake May. He's just the way he's ascended is pretty awesome. He looks like a guy that is at the top, of his craft because he has a rocket arm. He can throw to all levels of the field. He can move, similarly to Josh Allen, and they're winning games. And that team is not built that great around him yet, but they are building towards a winner. They have a good coaching staff with Mike Vrabel. They've added some good pieces, and I think they're one wide receiver one from that offense being truly elite. And you look at Jaden Daniels on the opposite side, and look how all of the missteps that team has had. And they're the Commandos, so we've seen that team be poorly mismanaged over years. Look at the previous owner, just to get an idea of how bad that team's been over the years. But Jaden Daniels, you found the your number one foundational quarterback, and what do? You dick around with Terry McLaurin, and you don't get him signed until right before the season starts. And surprise, he plays exactly the situation plays very similar to the way Brandon Ayuk played last year.
Mhm.
They don't draft a wide receiver. They draft a late round running back. They count on Austin Eckler coming into the season, and their big get was Debo Samuel, who's been semi-washed for the last few years. I mean, he's had a good season. Thank God, or that team would be truly awful. But you can't just have a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and do nothing to surround him with anything. Like they haven't helped that guy at all. So I say all that to say I wish somebody would get fired, mostly the GM, because he's done a piss poor job of building that team up. But I don't think anything's going to change there, and I think it's going to be very similar to how it was this year. So I say all of that to say that I trust Drake May body type. I trust the brain trust, the team building that they have going for that franchise, and the arrows pointed up for that franchise. So I think that Drake May, he has a lot more going for him on a franchise level, on a body type level than Jaden Daniels has at this point. And it's crazy because Jaden Daniels coming into the season was my QB1, but Yeah, he's slipped. He slipped, and it's not all his fault, but he has definitely slipped.
Yeah, I like it, my man. And looking at, I'm gonna give you another scenario here, and we're talking about a actual rookie this year, Jackson Dart, as he sits as QB9 right now on Keep Trade Cut. And if you're looking at his total value, is at 6,450. It's damn near only. I wouldn't say it's too far off from Joe Burrow, who's been hurt for majority of this year. Looking at the performances of Jackson Dart, and they've very much been fun, especially when he had Cam Scatterbo out there. And now that he's ranked ahead of guys like Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, I think kind of wild to have him ahead of Baker Mayfield. I under, even in dynasty, just because of age, I don't understand that. I still would have Baker Mayfield over Jackson Dart, as Baker Mayfield is a demon in 6 point passing touchdowns, and just in general, I think he's a dog. I think he's the reason why the Bucks have been successful the last, couple few years. And anybody who tries to downplay Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, really doesn't really know ball like that, because the man's successful. I don't care if he didn't have a good stint in Carolina. And honestly, if he was still with the Cleveland Browns, they would definitely be in a better spot than they are right now. So looking at that, and that being said, Jackson Dart ahead of the names like Caleb Williams, ahead of names Baker Mayfield, ahead of Bo Nix, ahead of hell, Dak Prescott. Are you ready to put Jackson Dart ahead of those guys right now, or is it a little bit too early to throw him ahead of those likes of quarterbacks who at this point seem just a little bit older than him? And it seems about the reason why Dart is as high as he is due to his age and some of the early success. As we see in the last 30-day trend, he has risen 17 spots. I do agree he has been impressive, but I don't agree that he should be ahead of guys like Baker Mayfield or Dak Prescott at the moment. But what do you think?
Yeah, he definitely should be above all of those guys. He's younger. He's 22 years old and basically took the league by storm. Basically every game he's played, he's scored 20 plus points. Um, he's one of the better running quarterbacks, and I didn't see it coming, but just the way he's got like good instincts with his running ability. He's got good patience, um, and he's got good vision running. So I didn't see him, being this good this fast, and he's done it for like one of the least talented teams in the league. I mean, he's putting up numbers. Malik Neighbor's been out. They've had, mid-ass Wandale Robinson. They've had like guys like Little Jordan Humphreys, Theo Johnson in his second year. So he hasn't had a lot to work with, but week in and week out, he just keeps on putting up numbers, and to do that as a rookie, I mean, it took Baker Mayfield basically like 8 years to break out. He's in his 30s, and he's playing well, but he's had some duds this year. He's definitely had some duds this year. In the last 4 games, he's had 150 yards or less in two of them, and he had a 0 touchdown game and a 1 touchdown game. So he hasn't been as consistent as he's been, in previous years. And if we're talking about 2024 Baker Mayfield, yes, but 2025, after his brief MVP inspired type performances early in the season, he's kind of fallen off as teams have gotten some tape on Ibuka, and Mike Evans is out, and Chris Godwin is out, and I think it's starting to catch up with that team a little bit. Not saying he's not going to have some great games, but he's capable of having bad games. But a guy who hasn't really had any bad games is Jackson Dart, and we keep forgetting he's a 22-year-old rookie doing this. So yes, I mean, when you come into the league and you show out, you move up very quickly, especially when you're 22 years old. So yeah, I think he should be above Baker Mayfield. He's got 8 years on him. So in a dynasty sense, you have 8 years potentially more of production than you will Baker Mayfield. Dak Prescott, he's 32 years old, and we all know, every other year Dak. I mean, hopefully he can keep it up now that he's got another demon at wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1B. So maybe he can finally have a couple good years in a row. But yeah, I mean, I would take Jackson Dart, over all of those guys. I think the real decision would be, Jackson Dart, Caleb Williams, or Bo Nix. Who do you got amongst those three?
I probably go Bo Nix out of those three, but I'm always someone who I don't really care about age when it comes to quarterbacks for that much, because quarterbacks could play damn near all the way up to 40 and still be playing at a pretty good level to where we need from them for fantasy. So I don't mind running with guys that are close to their 30s or in their 30s. Baker Mayfield being at 30, I still think he has a lot of years left to be a good quarterback. Even though Dak Prescott is 32, which is kind of crazy now I'm thinking about it. Time definitely flies.
Right.
But when it comes to being one of the most, top five, he typically is top five in the league when it comes to passing touchdowns. And then he has arguably top three best wide receiver duos in the league right now. So I think when everything is healthy, Dak Prescott is one of the, and I don't want to say underrated pieces in fantasy, because of when he's hitting, everybody knows about Dak Prescott and knows the production that he can give you. But I feel like Dak Prescott kind of gets lost along the ways when you bring in a nice young shiny toy like Jackson Dart. And looking at it, Jackson Dart this year in regular season, he's thrown for 1,417 passing yards, 10 passing touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. While for Baker Mayfield, has over one, almost basically 1,000 yards more and 7 more touchdowns than a Jackson Dart. Now, nevertheless, even though Baker Mayfield has been dealing with injuries and Jackson Dart doesn't really have a wide receiver core to begin with, or basically an offense to begin with, I think where I would take Baker, and I want to see a little bit more from Jackson Dart. And I think Jackson Dart is still, I believe he has the right makeup, he has the right aura. I think with Baker Mayfield, he has the better offense, and why I would take him ahead of Jackson Dart.
I will
Then
say, you mentioned that Baker Mayfield has 7 more touchdowns, but all of those touchdowns are made up in the run game because Jackson Dart also has 7 touchdowns on the ground. Well, I'll make one last point. On the QB thing that I wanted to touch on. I know you said that you don't care about QB, but I guarantee you the people in your league do, and it's a lot easier for me to sell a Jackson Dart at 22 than it is for me to flip a Dak Prescott, even as he's having an awesome season, to get the same kind of return for a Dak Prescott that I can get for a 22-year-old um, a 22-year-old quarterback. We don't like. I might not like it, but there is a lot of ageism in your leagues, and you're just gonna have a lot more success selling those young guys than you will some of those older guys.
I mean, I agree with you. I won't fight you on that one. But I also think even at 32, Dak Prescott is still going for a first plus to acquire. While Jackson Dart probably is at this point, and he has shown that he is a productive player, that it's going to be at least a 2 first for a young, and especially you throw league settings into there. If it's super flex, then you even gets even more value. If it's one quarterback, and I know Rocco, I know, player. You don't like one quarterback. You don't like. You don't fuck with that one quarterback shit.
Nah, I don't fuck with them. I
uh,
don't fuck with them young quarterbacks.
as the quarterbacks do lose value. But I won't fight you on your take where the young, hot, young quarterbacks there are easier, as you stated multiple times on our previous pods, where Matthew Stafford is having a top 10 quarterback fantasy season this year, and you was it's crickets when you was trying to move him for a second. So
Couldn't get a second. I saw you just traded. I think you either traded away or traded for Matthew Stafford for a
I did
second.
trade it for it. Yeah, I traded for Matthew Stafford.
And I said, man, I've been trying to. I'm trying to sell all off season for a second Matthew Stafford, and I got laughed at. But I bet those bastards would want to have Matthew Stafford on their team right now. But guess what? The cost of the brick went up.
Cost of the brick went up, and I believe it was a second, and it was a second that I had to give, and also Michael Mayer, which I still thought was pretty cheap. Well, I don't want to say pretty cheap, because Michael Mayer, I still have other tight ends, and the second round is just adequate to get Matthew Stafford. So I think on my end, I was just fine. I needed a QB3. This was the trade literally got accepted when Bryce Young was having going off, and all I see is like him finishing with 40 points. But nevertheless, I think I still wanted him. I still needed a QB3. Even if it does end up being Matthew Stafford, it probably would end up being Bryce Young as my
Bryce
QB3.
Young is definitely your QB
Yes,
three.
yes.
Who's your QB one?
QB1 is unfortunately right now Trevor Lawrence. So
Oh
it's
yeah, so Bryce Young and Matthew Stafford. Lawrence is the three. Gotcha.
yes, yes. Stafford's probably my QB1 at this point, and then the QB2 is moves to Trevor Lawrence, and
Yeah,
I say
T Law and Bryce could fight it out for QB two.
I'm telling you. So and we not done yet. I still got some things cooking up in that league, and we're looking at it, and we'll move on to the running backs real quick for this and that. But in that league, you, me, and Max are in the top or looking to make the playoffs. And just for y'all know, just so y'all know, I go to the league right now. I am
Which league is
7.
it?
I am. This is DFB, the show, Dynasty
Oh
Football. The
yeah,
show.
that's the one I won last year.
Where I am 8-3, and I am currently the third ranked team in this league. But the playoff teams we're currently right now, the lowest team is 6-5, and then you got our boy Max at 7-4, 8-3, myself at 8-3, the next team 8-3, and then our guy here Rocco at 9-2. Right now, Force and Fantasy tearing shit up in that league, but it's very, very competitive. If you are a team in the playoffs, you don't have a bummy record. And honestly, majority of the teams that are in the playoffs right now have a 7-4 record or up. That's how you know it's competitive. And I'm still trying to keep myself in every single week. I just beat Max this previous week, so ha ha. Shout out to our boy Max. But yeah, man. If looking at these guys, yeah, that's how I wanted to set up. You should be out there if before the trade deadline, trying to go get yourself some Matthew Stafford. You're probably not going to get it done with a second, because I tried to do it for a third. He didn't tell me to go to hell, but he didn't give me no answer either, which basically says go to hell. So shoot out them seconds, be okay, feel good about it, and you wouldn't, and I honestly wouldn't feel hurt. But let's look at these running backs, big dog, and looking at how they're ranked. Big John is still our RB1, with Jahmyr Gibbs RB2, Jonathan Taylor RB3, and you would probably say that due to age, right? But because honestly, in 2025, you would argue that Jonathan Taylor is the MVP in the league, if you're being quite honest with how he's playing. But where the recent success, what I'm gonna say recent, but the success of guys like Devin A. Chain, guys like let's even throw out Ashton Genty, because there was before the season even started where he was drafted, people were like, "Oh, he's RB3." I think he's going to be one of the top 5 running backs. But one, he is on a horrible offense, and two, it just hasn't been that great of sailing for him this season. He's quickly has lost his value, if you ask me. And he's more of a hold than anything. I don't see myself selling no Ashton Genty. I think you just wait for the Golden Gates to open one day, Chip Kelly to get the hell out of that organization and really unleash them. But if we're looking at these other guys, right? Would you this or that? would you rather have Devon A Chain, or would you rather have at this point, let's say a would you? And I guess it really depends if it's redraft or dynasty, right? Because redraft wise, Devin and Chain would probably take president over or take, you know, be ranked ahead of Amarion Hampton this year due to Amarion Hampton being hurt. But when Hampton was in there, he was killing shit. Dynasty wise, would you rather have Devin A Chain, or would you rather have Amarion Hampton with Devin A Chain showing how versatile he can be used this year?
Man, I coming into the season, I wanted to see if Devon A Chain or A Chain, however you say it, I wanted to see if he could stay healthy, and he has. He's been a real workhorse. I part of me wondered if they brought in Ollie Gordon to take a lot of that work from him and use him as more of a zone runner and let Ollie Gordon absorb some of that up the middle punishment and maybe get like 10 carries, maybe 12, 15 carries of
Mm-hmm.
some of the grunt work. But Devon A Chain has gotten all the work. I mean, he's proven himself to be a real workhorse, and it was the same last year. So I think at a certain point you just have to accept what you're seeing. That he can handle the workload. That he has stayed for the most part healthy as a running back can stay.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, it's him and it's Jahmyr Gibbs is by far the two most explosive backs in the league.
Especially with receiving game.
And both of them have a 3-down skill set. It's not just like in the past, years ago, a guy that small, he would be a satellite back, a pass catching back, and he wouldn't get the kind of work that these guys are getting. That they're getting, they're getting the carries, they're getting the catches, they're getting all of the work. And Jahmyr Gibbs has almost made David Montgomery non-existent to this point.
Expendable. Yep.
Yeah, expendable, non-existent. I mean, that was a 50-50
Backfield last year.
workload just
Yeah.
as soon as last year before Monty got hurt, but it's no longer that way. I know we're talking about Devon A Chain, but Devon A Chain is the closest thing to Jahmyr Gibbs that we have in the league. And you can make
Jameer Gibbs light, Jameer light, if you will.
I mean, if he was in a more functional offense, he'd be right there. Like if his quarterback wasn't Tua Tagovailoa and was somebody more competent like a Jared Goff, it would be neck and neck. You can make an argument either way, but those two are the most explosive guys in the league, and they're Devon A Chain's a little smaller than Gibbs, but they're both those smaller backs. But you got to give it up to them. They're just killing it, and you could really make an argument that they are the top 2 running backs in the league, because as much as I want to say Bijan Robinson, he's not as consistently producing as those two.
And I blame the Falcons' offensive coordinator, but you're correct.
Whatever it may be, every week Devon A Chain is smashing. Every week Jahmyr Gibbs, outside of the first couple weeks, is smashing. So, if I could trade Bijan Robinson for Gibbs or Devon A Chain and get a plus on top, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and looking at the values of Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, both look like in their own tiers, and being damn near either 2,000, almost damn near 2,000 more value for the people who keep trade cut, being valued that much higher than Devon A Chain. What you throw in, what size you throw in that they're in theoretically better offense, especially Jahmyr Gibbs. And these are guys that give you the PPR type threats. Honestly, they give you production in the running game. They can give you production in the receiving game. And honestly, I think that what makes a true workhorse back or a true fantasy feature back. I love to say that just because of you touch the ball in all phases of the game. Especially, I want to give you another this or that. Would you go James Cook or Quinshawn Judkins? And I will even throw Trevion Henderson now in there as well, since we've seen him have some good weeks as well, back to back. And it looks like Mike Vrabel's starting to trust him a little bit more. He's starting to get some churn, what we all been waiting for. And we'll see if that continues with Ramondre coming back. But between Trevion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, and those being rookies, and then James Cook, who coming into the season, he was very much fighting with the Buffalo Bills to get a long-term contract. And he has shown why he got the contract, as he one is a top five. I think he is a top five running back in fantasy, and arguably you could say he's a top 10 running back in the NFL. Would even say, I mean, you got Bijan, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got Jonathan Taylor. That's the top three. You got Devon A. Chain, and then that top five, yeah, it's really Christian McCaffrey. So yeah, never mind. You can't put him in that top five, but top 10 for sure. For sure, I think James Cook is, and he's another guy on that same league we were just talking about, DFB, the show, where I traded for Matthew Stafford a week and a half earlier. I had traded for James Cook, and I sent out. I actually traded away Omarion Hampton to acquire him. So it really depends on where you at. I am somebody who is contending. Once again, I am 8-3. Omarion Hampton sounds really good for a rebuilding team who can very much. I don't know when he's coming back. We don't know when he's coming back. Last time we saw him, he was in a walking boot. And I feel like right now, with me being able to contend and shoot, being only one a game away from our good boy Rocco over here, I feel like James Cook did more for me right now than Omarion Hampton does. But what do you think to that? James Cook, Omarion Hampton, Trevion Henderson. How do you like those guys ranked against each other?
Man, you talking about that DFB league? I just remembered that I traded away Bijan. That was not my best moment. I traded him away for Brian Thomas Jr. and Mark Andrews, but then I rebounded by trading for Jonathan Taylor, a first, and like Rashard Smith and Tootin.
Mm,
So I kind of made up for that with the
agreed.
all world MVP season for Jonathan Taylor.
Agreed.
But as far as those guys, it's hard. It's hard to put. Hampton was the highest drafted. I mean, he was the 1.2 in most rookie drafts. But what we've seen from Trevion Henderson now that he's gotten over that veteran deference and actually has gotten snaps. And we've seen the two long touchdowns a couple weeks ago, and then this previous Thursday, 3 touchdowns, including a nice jump ball in the end zone. And I'm going to go with the healthy guy in Trevion Henderson, who's linked to what a lot of people would say would be the QB1 in Dynasty with Drake May.
We may.
So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go in that direction. Oh, where? What happened? Oh, Huncho, there he is.
I'm back. Ha.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just downplaying James Cook. I'm a avid James Cook hater.
Dogs. You know how
Um, Yeah, I mean, the problem is he doesn't catch a lot of passes until the last couple weeks, which he has eight catches in the last 2 weeks. Not many. I'm counting right now, 12, 13 catches coming into the last couple weeks, and that was over 8 games. He had 13 catches in 8 games, so that's pretty terrible. But the last 2 weeks, they've shown an affinity to throw him the ball, so maybe that's something that we can look forward to going forward. But that's kind of capped his upside, him not catching passes so most of the year. So I'm going to go with Trevion Henderson. He's got 3 years on James Cook, and he's got the younger version of Josh Allen throwing him the ball and handing him off the ball.
I hear you on that one, big dog. And now that I'm looking at the stats, if we go back the last month or so and we look at targets wise, Christian McCaffrey leads all running backs with 36. Devon A. Chain has 33. Chase Brown 29. Bijan and surprisingly Kenneth Gainwell is in that top 5 uh, running back.
R.I.P. Caleb Johnson.
Oh, Caleb Johnson. I know, man, and I'm still a believer. And we're gonna see what with Jalen Warren injury being there, if see if he gets any burn. But man, that shit is depressing. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But to Rocco's point, James Cook this year hasn't been as involved in the passing game as he's been previously with the Bills. And I think they still just been trying to figure it out week by week and trying to get a dub. Whether it's going to be James Cook that wins us, whether it's going to be Khalil Shakir that wins us, maybe Josh Allen has to put the whole team on his back to get us the dub. So I think they'll end up figuring it out as the rest of the year goes. But I'm not mad at your choice there. I feel like with Trevion Henderson, he's starting to really, I think his value is just going to continue to go up. Where you could have probably acquired him when he was stinging it up, where people was panic selling. I seen a couple of y'all. Yeah, I seen a couple of y'all motherfuckers panic selling now. Trevion Henderson, you can get him off your team. Not me. Same people with Quinshawn Jacksons. I was not getting Quinshawn off my team for the low. These are guys that you had to pick fairly highly as first round picks, and y'all was coming off way too easy, way too easy on some of these fellas. So
I don't sell low. I'll just wait.
exactly, wait on it.
I
Come back.
drop a motherfucker before I sell low.
I'm telling you, bruh. And lastly, before we head over to our wide receivers, wise, when we're looking at Bucky Irving, what is his value looking like right now with Sean Tucker having once again another breakout game? And we've seen this in years past where he's just had breakout games. And some people might say Sean Tucker is the most talented running back in that running back group.
Yeah, I mean, if you were doing drugs, no, I think Bucky Irving will be just fine, but it's hard to rank him while he's sitting on the bench. Um, and to all of our followers, I want to apologize for not recommending y'all start Sean Tucker. There was a couple people that questioned if they should put him in the lineup. A couple questions about Sean Tucker, and I said no both times. I did mention that he was the only guy that went over 50 yards against the Patriots, but I still did not recommend starting him, and for that, I apologize. Do
Hey
better.
man, I feel like we both said no to Sean Tucker, but we both didn't realize because previous weeks Rashard White has been the featured guy. Sean Tucker's gotten carries and touches, but it hasn't been to the degree of what we saw this previous week, right? So I think it kind of, if you're a Bucky Irving owner, I think it kind of puts you in a weird spot
Yeah.
because now what do you do? Like to the saying that you said last week, it's kind, you can't really put the toothpaste back in the bottle. So it's, what do you do with that information? How do you handle Bucky Irving going forward? Is Rashard White even a thing after this year? Do you try to move off of him and see if
I,
it's Sean Tucker and
I,
Bucky Irving for 2026?
I
That's
I think White is definitely the odd man out. He's going to have to find a new job at the end of the season, and I think it's going to be the Tucker and Bucky Irving show once Bucky comes back, and I think they're going to have a nice two-headed monster there. They both win in different ways, so. I'm not concerned about Bucky once he gets on the field losing touches. I mean, he was a league winner last year on 50% workload, so he doesn't need all of the work to be very productive and
Mhm.
and to win you games. So um, I would like Sean Tucker to take more of those abusive type touches and give Tucker some carries. He's proven that he can be successful in that role. So I'd like to just keep him in the same role he has and let Bucky take over all the white touches, and I think that's a winning formula for that team.
I like it, my man. And let's look at I'm gonna give you a quick this or that for the tight end spot because I want to see how you feel about Oronde Gadsden compared to these other guys. And I have two quick questions for you. One, is Brock Bowers still tight end one for you? And when you compare, because if you look at how Trade Cut has him valued, he is still top and at 8,549 points in value, almost 1,000 more than the next guy, Trey McBride and Tyler Warren being the next two guys, then Tucker Kraft. RIP. I hope your I hope your knee is healing well for fantasy purposes. If you had to choose, right, going in, well, first off, before we get to that, do you still view Brock Bowers as tight end one in Dynasty and just fantasy in general?
Yeah, I mean, he broke out as a rookie. I mean, he had a knee injury coming, early in the season. So for me, that hasn't moved him out of that top spot. And I mean, in reality, Trey McBride, Trey McBride is always was one of the top two or three tight ends, but he's played so much better with Jacoby Brissett that it makes you wonder, will he go back to being the guy that can't score touchdowns with Kyler Murray once he comes back? So, that's a situation to kind of keep an eye on because he's played so much better with Jacoby Brissett. Um, Whereas I think Brock Bowers is more QB proof. I mean, he had atrocious QB play last year and still had the best rookie tight end season ever. He had numbers that would be envious for a wide receiver to have, a high end wide receiver one. So I think Brock Bowers still clears. I think that Brock Bowers has a little bit more talent. I don't know if it's talent, but I think he's capable of a little bit more volume, and he's done it from a younger age, and he's currently younger than Trey McBride. So I'll give it to Brock Bowers by a hair.
And then if you look at where Tyler Warren is, there's a clear drop off. We go from Brock Bowers at 8,449 in value to Trey McBride 7,705 in value to Tyler Warren 7,006, and then the next tight end is Tucker Kraft at 5,432. Do you think is that much of a drop off from those top three guys compared to Tucker Kraft, who honestly before the injury you would argue he could have actually be the tight end one in 2025, along with guys such as Trey McBride? He was in the running. You think it's okay, or do you think it's right for Tucker Kraft to be viewed that much lower than those top three guys?
I think for me, it's Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, and that's the tier. For me, Warren's not in that tier, but I understand the argument that he could be. I mean, he's producing, amazingly for a rookie, but I still, to me, I think Brock Bowers and Trey McBride are the league winners. And for me personally, I think Tucker Kraft is closer to those top two than Warren is. But he blew his knee out, so that's the issue with him, and the guy behind him as well is out on IR. So we could actually really see Gaston and Colston Loveland make up a lot of ground very quickly. But for me, Tucker Kraft was getting close to that top two territory and was close to becoming a big three, and then he blew his knee out. So I'm kind of surprised that he's still this high up with a torn ACL. That just speaks to the kind of season that he was having and the kind of upside that he was showing this year. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I think Tucker Kraft could be every bit as good as those guys.
Okay, so that leads me to my this or that question for you for the tight ends. This or that. Would you rather have? Sorry, just had to. There was a damn bug in here. I just killed that. Ninja skills. Stop playing with your boy. But would you rather have, if on your team, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, or sorry, let me reword that. Would you rather have Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, or Rondé Gatson, or Sam Laporta?
Not Laporta. I don't think.
Has
I think
Laporta
he's in a
fallen,
good.
has he fallen out of graces?
I think he's a good tight end, but he doesn't. he doesn't move me. He doesn't feel like a game changing tight end. He just feels like another guy in a great offense.
That's how would you okay, and this might go crazy. Some people might kill me for this. But could we start viewing Sam Laporta kind of how we view Jake Fergie?
He's closer to Jake Fergie than those guys for me.
Don't kill me, no. Don't kill me, y'all.
He's
I'm just
he's
saying,
he's
though.
he's closer, and trust me, I say this from a viewpoint that I feel like a lot of the community feels the same because I've had a hard time moving Laporta.
Me
I
too.
mean, he went from a guy that was worth like multiple firsts to a guy that you really can't even get a first for him, even in tight end premium.
Hmm. No, I'm right there, right behind you, big dog. Where if you have Sam Laporta, it's more just likely you're just keeping him, unless you're trying to low
He's
sell
just
him, which I'm
he's just
not.
not sexy. He's just a guy that happens to be in a good offense. I mean, he's not a bad player. Like I'm like, don't twist my words up. He's not a bad player. He's just a guy. He's just good. He's a good football player, but he doesn't have like that league winning upside that a Trey McBride and a Brock Bowers have in uh, what Tucker Kraft was showing himself to be. And just take a look at that Green Bay offense since he's left. They've fallen off of a cliff. So that just kind of speaks to the importance of Tucker Kraft in that offense.
Yeah, bro. If you ask me, I'm taking a front of Laporta. I'm taking Rondé Gatson ahead of Laporta right now. I'm taking. I
Mm-hmm.
know some people might kill me, but when I say this, I'm taking potentially Harold Fannin Jr. ahead of Laporta right now.
Mm-hmm.
I could. That's where I feel like the list you can stop with. We, if
On the
we.
strength of that one game-winning touchdown, I'm taking Colston Loveland over Laporta. Off of the
There's
strength of one fucking touchdown.
I'm telling you, and I could even this year argue with you with him and Jake Ferguson being in the same category when it comes to
Now
tight.
that's where the line is. I got them in the same tier for me. They're
So
like
that's
this.
where we
They're
go.
like very similar for me.
Yes, they give you what Laporta. I think Laporta is very reception TD dependent. So is Jake Fergie, and they don't really
Unexciting
give
white guys.
exactly. So I think we're both on lockstep here when it comes to how we feel about Laporta going forward. And if you are a Laporta owner, honestly, it's either get out now or just hold, and hopefully he gains some type of traction if JMO leaves town or something like that. But right now, it's not looking too good, Laporta, especially with being on IR. Grab your Brock Wrights, who's also dealing with the injury. But
Well, JMO ain't going nowhere. He just got re-signed. So
oh yeah, you all right. So now you're really stuck now. So so yeah, if and really out of those guys, you really just Chev would probably be the same way. You're rocking really home for a Rondé Gatson, who has since the last 30 days moved up 139 spots. Crazy,
Whew,
crazy to see.
that shit cray.
That shit crazy. Now, to end the show off, let's end it off with them wide receivers, which I honestly feel like the rankings shouldn't have changed too much with Jamar Chase being at the top where he's been top dog, top dog. But we're, what we've all have seen and would agree to at this point, and I wouldn't be upset if you had him ahead of Jamar Chase at this point of what he's been doing. But JSN being wide receiver two now, where he wasn't in that top three conversation where we had Jamar Chase, we had Justin Jefferson, we had a CD Lamb. They've both fallen. Even with CD Lamb still being up there, I wouldn't even have Malik Neighbors at this point still near the Amon Ross St. Brown area. But dynasty wise, I get it, his youth and what he's been able to do. But JSN, let's talk about him real quick. Let's talk about how he has risen to arguably you could say wide receiver one, but on keep trade cut, wide receiver two, only being about 100 some points off of value from Jamar Chase. Now, like we always say, the price of the brick has gone up. It's damn near hard as hell to acquire you some JSN if you didn't do it prior to this year. How do you feel? about what we've seen from JSN? And do you even think it's possible? Honestly, there's no more buy lows on JSN. You're buying high going forward. Isn't that right, Rocco?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was blessed that I was able to turn Malik Neighbors into JSN and Tyler Algier right after the Neighbors injury. If that Neighbors injury had happened a week or two afterwards, there's no way I make that happen.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, he's going to be impossible to get your hands on at this point. I mean, he's got an otherworldly yards per route run. I don't know where it is in the pantheon, but it has to be up there because 3 is an amazing number, and he's like in the 4s, which is just nuts.
Killing it.
So every time he runs a route, he gets 4 more yards. That's because he's winning downfield consistently and constantly. He's at this point in the season, he's coming up on 1,146 yards, 5 touchdowns, 72 catches in 10 games. He's got 7 more games left. We're talking about he potentially could go over 2,000 yards this year if he keeps up this pace. Maybe gets it a little bit, into a little more into gear. So yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Jamar Chase just having a triple crown season and making a bit of a comeback this season when, he started out very slow once they got Joe
Mhm.
Flacco in there, JSN would be number 1 already. So this is a very accurate display of where he should be ranked at number 2 at this point.
And if we're looking at one of the former top 3, I still think he's top 3. Just horrible, or not horrible quarterback situation. It just we don't know yet. Justin Jefferson has fallen 7 spots back. Now wide receiver 7. He's still 26, but I feel like now is the all time low of where you could get Justin Jefferson, and it won't cost you a pretty penny to acquire him on the team because owners are panicking. They just don't know where the production is going to, or if he's going to be on this week. Is he going to be off this week? And where you had to select him is a pretty penny as well. So, how have you felt, or how do you feel about Justin Jefferson going forward this year, and just going through 2026, 2027? Do you think he can turn it, or it's not even on Justin Jefferson to really turn it around, but do you see the Vikings or JJ McCarthy being able to sustain Justin Jefferson as a top 3 wide receiver for fantasy?
It might not happen this year, but if you can get him for 2 seconds at this point, I would jump all over that because coming into the season he was close to a 4 first type of asset. We're talking about a guy that was a mid first round pick.
Hmm.
So now is the opportunity that may not see again for a few years, where you can get him potentially for two first or less. So I would shoot your shot, in spots and see if you can't get Justin Jefferson on your team. Um, as a contender, you might not see the return on your investment this year. So don't trade him and expect top 5 wide receiver numbers. Think of more as a high end wide receiver too, that
Hmm.
could give you weeks. But as soon as next year, we can see him right back where he's always been. We got to remember that he came into the year with a hamstring injury, and he's had different quarterbacks in and out of the lineup. So even JJ McCarthy, as bad as he's played, he's been in and out of the lineup. So it's been hard for them to get a good rhythm together. So hopefully we see whoever the 2026 QB is, it will be JJ McCarthy, but let's see a fully healthy offseason and let those guys grow together. But if you can get it for 2 firsts, shoot that offer right now.
And that leads me to my this or that's for you of how they have him lined up. Would you, or this or that, Amika Abuka or Nico Collins, as they have Amika as your wide receiver 8 and Nico as your wide receiver 12? and Amika being damn near 1,300 points higher value than a Nico right now.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the value, with the younger player, with the guy that that's breaking out as a rookie. He hasn't played fantastic in the last few weeks. He's definitely had some duds. He had a hamstring strain. If it was a tear, he wouldn't be playing, but he definitely had some hamstring issue that slowed him down. And he's failed to cross 60 yards in the last failed to cross 60 yards in 4 out of the last 5 games with that said injury. So he hasn't played that well, and Nico Collins is pretty hot right now. But Nico Collins is hot with Davis Mills. Like, he wasn't killing like this with CJ Stroud in there. So it makes you wonder how much of it is fool's gold. I just traded two firsts for Nico Collins, so I'm willing to find out. But I'm
That's,
going to go with the
that's still
rookie.
his value.
What's that?
That's still in his value. 2 firsts is still Nico.
Yeah, I got a third. I got a 27 third back just in case. So I got a little something back, and those 27 draft picks will be super valuable, I believe. But I'm going to go with the younger guy that's a little bit higher on keep trade cut. I'm going to go with Emeka Ibuka, based on the fact that he's broken out as a rookie, and I think he's going to have bigger days ahead.
All right, let's start getting a little hot right now. George Pickens, this or that, and one of my hot takes for before the season was George Pickens could have a top 10 type year, and right now he is second in the NFL in receiving yards. And I believe, if I'm looking correctly, let me go check my Palm Pilot on my phone. I believe he was top 4. I believe he was wide receiver 4 in fantasy currently right now. Once again, my take is going bananas right. Yeah, I'm looking at it right on the head. He is wide receiver 4 right now in fantasy. Now, so looking at that, George Pickens or Garrett Wilson?
You know, before the season started, this would have been an easy answer. And Garrett Wilson was killing it when he's been playing, but I mean, I'm not sure if we'll see him again this year. And he still plays for the Jets, and the Jets don't have a QB. And George Pickens is in one of the best offensive environments in the league. Give me George Pickens. I trust it more at least in the short term, and that's going to inform this decision on two guys that are ranked back to back on KTC.
George Pickens or Roma Dunze?
Man, I tried to tell y'all Romo Duze on all that. He
said, I gotta tell y'all.
He's not been killing it. I know he started off pretty hot, but he's fallen off a fucking cliff. Give me George Pickens. I know what I'm getting with I know what I'm getting with George Pickens. I know he's in one of the best offensive environments in the league, and sneakily, by the end of the season, Rome Odunze may not be the number one wide receiver in Chicago. It could be the one and only Luther Burden.
And if we're looking at this chart, we see that he got interest, he was booming, and now it's kind of level, and now it's been kind of it's heading down for the rest of the year. So he did start off hot, and I'm glad that I was able to sell him in a few places where he was hot and maximize his potential return value.
Dude has 0 catches and 0 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals in a game they scored 47 points in. He ain't him. Sorry, he ain't him.
That ain't too sexy. Now,
he ain't the guy that was promised.
George Pickens or Nico? Because but now and the reason why I asked that once again, we're seeing George Pickens the talent when he gets a very bona fide quarterback, what he can do, and with CD Lamb taking majority of double coverage, he gets those single coverage matchups.
I think
But
this is the line. I think this is the line for me.
okay,
I had Nico as a foundational player coming into the year, and you know when he's been on the field for the most part, he's been a 3 yards per route run type of guy, and he's like I said, he's the number one on his team. Um, so hopefully that offense continues to grow, even when CJ Stroud comes back. Uh, George Pickens could very well outscore Nico Collins the rest of the way, but I'm gonna go with Nico Collins here. But
and
it's
then my last,
close.
and then my last question to you on this actually, with looking at these other guys, right? Is it fair to put now George Pickens in that Drake London tier? Drake London would probably still be if we're doing tiers, right? I would say the top guys are still Jamar Chase. You would go JSN. You would go Justin Jefferson. I'll still put CD up there, and then you have Puka. You have the Amon Ross St. Brown, the Malik Neighbor. Yeah, and Drake. Then you can start throwing the Drake Londons in there, the Nico Collins. Would you put George Pickens right there,
I would put him after that crew.
right after?
Yeah, I mean those guys are target hog number ones on their team. Um, until 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 George Pickens fully takes control of that room and says I'm the number one. I think of him more in that T Higgins type tier where he can be an elite number two.
You still like George Pickens ahead of with Marvin Harrison Jr. though, or like a Brian
Man,
Thomas?
stop fucking with me, bro.
How about like a Brian
Fucking Marvin
Thomas,
Harrison's fucking terrible.
Jalen Waddle, or George Pickens?
George Pickens, he's got more upside in that offense. Even though I love me some Jalen Waddle, Jalen Waddle is capped by being on the Dolphins offense.
I like it, man. You're picking George Pickens or Rasheed Rice.
Come on, man.
I
Rasheed
feel like that's
Rice.
honestly, bro. If you're looking at it,
He's the undisputed number one for Patrick Mahomes.
man, I don't know. I feel like you could put George Pickens and Rasheed Rice in the same tier now. Where Rasheed Rice is probably, I would have him in that. I would have him in that in that Nico. I guess if you want to be picky, you could have Rasheed Rice in that Nico Collins, Drake London tier, and then still put George Pickens in one tier below them. No, I don't think he's too far off from those guys though.
Yeah, I still put him in that elite number two, in that elite number two tier.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, like we talked about earlier on the podcast, there is a chance that he steams up past CD. So there's still a path for that to happen. Whereas T Higgins will never overtake CD CD Jamar Chase.
I hear you on that one, Big G. But that has been this or that. While we went through keep trade cut, looked at the recent updated values of certain players around the league. Honestly, it's been a crazy season where you see guys' values either went super down or went up. Oronde Gadsden value has ballooned up 130 plus spots as he has gained, whereas Jamar Chase hasn't really lost much value. Even with losing his quarterback, he still holds or retains good trade value if you need to move him. And I still think if he's one of those guys that you could say are evergreen, if you will. Him, Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, those guys. Honestly, you they don't lose much. Well, I want to say I should put a very small print with Bijan and Jameer Gibbs because for them, I will say while they're still young and not banged up, they have some of the most best value when it comes to non-quarterbacks right now. But there are some other guys that have lost their value this year. Wink, wink, Bruce Irvin. Oh, sorry, not Bruce Irvin. Bucky Irving. I don't know why I keep saying Bruce or why the goddamn name Bruce keep coming up, but nevertheless, those are this or that. This has been fun. We gotta do this again, to be honest with you, because it's been a while, and I love it when we do a little bit of this or that just to get the brain flowing. But this has been our show. We will run our ad for League Champ here at the end, where you could win yourself a free NFL jersey. But before then, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you look into the YouTube description where you can join our free Discord and ask us any questions 24/7, trades, how to rebuild, or just talk football. We here, or just talk life, really. We're just our Discord. Thanks to everybody that's in the community. Rocco, do you have anything for the viewers before we get up out of here? And then let's talk about our Sunday show and what time we're going.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Let's go 9.
9 a.m.
No Sunday football games. Thank God. You know, it's a fun experiment and it's cool when you have like one, maybe two of those games a year. But when you're pushing like 6, 7, what do they have? Like 7 games,
Mm-hmm.
7 international. That's bullshit. Nobody
That's way
wants to
too
get up
much,
that
man.
fucking early.
I
Those
don't know.
games fucking generally suck. I'd rather be doing a podcast and not worried about getting my lineup set that early in the morning. So, yeah, that's a bad idea. And they're just going to keep doing it next year. I think my Saints are going to Paris next year, so that'll
Okay,
be another terrible game that nobody will want to watch. But it will be a primetime standalone game, so it's been a long time since we had one of those. But anyway, we're going to go at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. And when you touched upon the Discord, sometimes want to chat football, talk life. It makes me think, and we really didn't touch on it, and it sucks. We missed the show, a couple weeks ago, but Marshawn Nealon, that was a terrible situation for the Cowboys, and you know, I hate to think what people could be going through, and like you've said in the past, men have a hard time of opening up and talking to people, and sometimes it just takes that first step of reaching out. So, if you want to reach out by Discord, yeah, hit us up. We're free to talk at most times. Unless we've got work shit, but we always catch up. On our Discord sooner or later, and if it's not us, it'll be one of the many others that are in that great community.
Yep.
So please don't hesitate to reach out. It's more about it's more than just football. It's life. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that. I know we haven't had a real chance to talk about that since it happened, but men's mental health is very important to us as well.
Yeah, I second that from Rocco. All our great men out there, don't be scared to open up. Don't be scared to really just let someone know what's going on inside your mind. You're never alone. And once again, if you ever need somebody to talk to, we are very much here in the Discord, whether it's football, whether it's life, health, whether it's about fishing or goddamn your favorite comic book. Who
I might
doesn't?
not be able to tell you much about fishing, but you want to holler at my boy. He might know something about fishing.
You know what I'm saying? We can talk.
I'm a city slicker, so I don't know much about the outside. But my man, yeah, he's an outside type of guy. So if y'all want to talk about inside shit, football, whatever, that's me. Exterior stuff, holler at my boy Huncho.
But
Keep it
yeah, that's
100.
has been our episode. Join us Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, as we go over start and sit question from you live on our Morning Rush show. Appreciate all the support that we get every time we show out. We go keep bringing the vibes. This has been Fourth and Fantasy, your fantasy playbook to more championship wins. And Rocco, where are we? The land of.
We're a fantasy football podcast for Dynasty Sickos by Dynasty Sickos. All of y'all are welcome.
And stay tuned. This is for our break here. Catch you next time. This is Lee Champ. Like I said, where you could win a free NFL jersey like our boy Rocco here has on with that black Jonathan Taylor jersey looking so fresh and so clean. We're going to get up out of here. Till next time. This is Sports and Fantasy. Y'all take care.